Hi, I'm Clate Mask, and on the Conquer the Chaos podcast, I talk with inspiring business owners about what it takes to build a great business and a great life. That means more money, more time, more control, more impact, more freedom. So keep listening to hear the tough lessons they learned so you don't have to repeat them. All right, welcome everyone to this episode of the Conquer the Chaos podcast. I am Clate Mask, the host of the Conquer the Chaos podcast, co-founder and CEO of Keap, and I am so excited because the person that I get to bring to you today and introduce you to, if you don't already know her, which, by the way, if they don't, I'm sorry, is someone that I've known for a long time. We've worked together at Keap for many years. She's a partner, but she is an amazing entrepreneur. She's a fantastic marketer, and she is a automator extraordinaire. She knows all kinds of things about small business automation. So when we talk about the keys, it's something that's really fun to talk about with this guest because she knows them back and forth, back and forward, left and right, up and down. So without further ado, let me introduce to you Sarah Laws. Sarah?
Hi, Clate.
Great to have you here.
Thank you for having me. Really excited. Really love the book. As you know, I shared with you last month when we saw each other, and excited to just share.
Yeah. That was really fun for me. When
time.
when we were talking that night, it was at Donald Miller's house, we were talking, and you shared with me the impact of the book. And I'll tell you, I told Charisse, I said, you know what? It's really fun to have people who I've known for a long time, and they don't need to tell me whether the book's good or bad. That's not the point, but to see it really have an impact. It was really cool.
Yeah. And I mean, it was tough and challenging to say to you, I didn't think I'd get that much out of it. Like, lovingly, because we have known each other for a really long time.
Right.
And I've heard all the things I thought and assumed and was just really blown away. And even my son, who's 16, going to be 17 in a couple of weeks, said, Mom, what are you enjoying about the automation section? And he's like, you do that.
Right.
And I was like, well, I'm just sitting here and thinking, do I do it enough for myself? I do it for clients and I help people with it, but am I doing it enough for me and my business? So, even when we take off that expert hat and just can self-reflect a little bit, and I loved it and talk about it all the time. And people are like, oh, I'm sending it to people. And I'm like, read it. And I gave it to my aunt. She's like, it's not autographed. And I was like, it's hardback. And I was traveling. So next time I see Clate, I'll get him this.
Well, thanks for spreading the word. I love that.
Yeah.
And we'll come back around to it. But let's make sure that everybody knows who Sarah is, because you do amazing things in the world of small business. You've done incredible things in Keap Nation. You were a partner of the year one year. You've done so much with so many different platforms, really. I mean, you're so skilled and so knowledgeable about the real practical issues that small businesses face when they're trying to grow.
Yeah.
And it starts with being a great marketer. So maybe just share a little bit for our audience that, things I haven't said that people should know about you.
Well, I think it really comes down to, I don't even know it's about me, of people don't become entrepreneurs to do all the things all the time and work 90 hours a week. And how can I help people and use skills and look at things a different way to help them save time? And I always hate saying, what do you do?
Yeah.
And my go-to is as little as possible for as much money as possible.
Okay. I love as little as possible for as much money as possible.
That's what I love to do all the time.
Yes. Sarah Laws, here lies Sarah Laws. She did as little as possible for as much money as possible.
Completely. And a little Gucci stamp on it. It'll be fine.
I love it.
But it's my goal in life is to help as many people as I can. And your mission, your personal one, I resonate so much with, of just, I want to help people. And what does that mean?
Yeah.
And helping them see a different way of, our kids don't have to go into a 9-to-5. And if my son decides not to go to college, I can be okay with that. I'm a high school dropout. My husband retired 7 years ago. Like, you can make anything come true when you put your mind to it.
Yeah.
And the visioning that you talk about in the book and the daily habits. And I shared with you in Nashville that I have to hack myself a lot because,
we do as entrepreneurs.
I'm a serial entrepreneur, which means I get all the squirrels and I like to chase all of them and dabble in all the things. And how can I trick myself to get those done and do my goals? And in the book, you talk about the planning. And for so long, I would do planning. And then I get to the end of the year and I'd review it. And it was like, well, my dreams aren't coming true. My dream list that Dan Rouse had me craft
I love that.
is not getting done. So every week now I pull up my dream list, my goals, personal, business, and if they're not all aligned, I have to readjust.
Yeah.
Because if I'm not making my big dreams come true every day, why?
Yes. Okay. I love this. And this is one of the things that it's been really fun getting feedback from entrepreneurs that have read the book. And you said something similar when I saw you in Nashville. And I've had several other people say the same thing, that one of the things that they didn't expect to get from the book, but they took away, was the connection of the long-term dreams and goals to the day-to-day execution. And if entrepreneur is nothing else, it is one big series of distractions, right? There's just so many different things.
Yeah.
And it's hard to stay grounded in your long-term vision, your goals, your dreams. And so you're doing all this stuff, and you just articulate it really well. You get to the end of the year and you're like, well, wait, hold on.
I was so busy. How did I not?
Yes.
How did I not accomplish all that stuff?
Right.
What was I doing? What was I
Right.
so busy with? We fill our time, and if we're not doing it towards a purpose and our goals and what those are, we're going to just end up somewhere, not where we want to be.
Yeah, and that's why I love the weekly winning exercise, because you fill out that worksheet and I write it out every week, and I'm no different than what I teach. I write it out every week. And when you go through and you write your identity, your purpose, your values, your mission, your goals for your life, and then your 10-year goals, that just always keeps literally at the top of the page, front and center. Here's the big picture that I'm working on.
Right.
And then you go through your week and design your week to have a great week that is moving you toward those goals. And then, of course, the pieces at the bottom. So that's the vision. And then the piece at the bottom of the rhythm keep you moving in more of your short-term stuff. So I love hearing that. It's one of the things I probably have found the most. And I didn't expect this. Like, much like your son, who's like, hey, I didn't expect to get these things. I wrote the book and I put it out there. And what's happened is a lot of people have really emphasized the personal keys. And I live in my work life, I'm living the business keys all day long, but I practice the personal keys all the time, and I didn't expect it to be so strong in the feedback.
Entrepreneurs, it's all so connected. It's not like you can't separate the one. You can't just shut down. And my husband will look at me and he'll be like, what are you thinking about? And it's like, literally nothing about what is happening right now. It's like my mind is completely here and elsewhere, and I can't focus on anything right now. So this isn't a you face. This is just
right.
We're all connected all the time to the different things that are happening, and am I making the right decision, or how could I have handled this differently today? Am I doing the right things? I think a lot of times people in general are waiting for permission to do things.
Yeah.
I've moved to Scotland. I've moved from Pennsylvania to here years ago, and it was like moving my entire family. And it's like, what? I can just do that? Like, I can just pack up my life and sell my house and move.
Right.
And it's like, yeah, you don't have to ask permission for anyone.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of times people are looking for permission or comparing themselves, especially with social media, to what's happening. And I love in the book that it's just reflecting. One thing that you said a couple of years ago, we were in Hawaii for President's Club, and you talked about habit stacking. And I love the book, especially your book, because of the step-by-step little pieces that you could break down. I'm the kind of person that's like, okay, this 87-step process that I have to do to be successful, great. I do them. I'm going to mark them all down, and then the next day I do 60, and then 30, and then 20, and then none.
Yes.
And that's, I like to think that I'm not out of the ordinary with that, but the habit stacking.
Very ordinary to do that, but it's normal.
It's like, go all in.
Right.
I was born in September, so I would get a journal, like a diary every September. The first 3 pages of a stack of diaries are completed. And it's
I have the same.
It's absolutely silly and ridiculous, but the habit stacking, and you talked about being the person that you want to be. I had just stepped into a new role that I was in for a client, and it was like, in my mind, what does showing up as this type of person look like?
Yeah.
And I might not feel that way now, and I think that gets a lot into imposter syndrome, which entrepreneurs struggle with massively.
Yep.
How can I just make little tweaks every day to turn myself into that person and telling that story to myself?
Yeah.
We can be our own worst critics.
Totally. I I want to dig into that a little bit. I do want to come back around to the time because I think you're such a great time hacker, and I want to talk about some of the principles in the book and just what you found. But let's talk for a second about identity, because what you're really saying is, in the book I talk about how we want to say, well, okay, well, what would a person like that do? And then take on the behaviors of a person who is that identity that we want.
Right.
And, you just described it. And I think that because we're our own worst enemy, our mind is constantly weighing whether or not we are that. See, no, you're not. I told you you're full of crap, right?
Yeah.
That's what the mind is doing.
Yeah.
And yet all we have to do is recognize that it's never that clear, black and white. The fact is we're just trying to put pieces of evidence that demonstrate we are that kind of person.
Yeah.
And when we make a mistake or we don't do something we wanted to do that's like that kind of person, however you want to think of it, all we're really saying is, well, now there's just a vote on that side. Well, let's just go put some more votes on this side. And we stack up the votes that say, I am indeed that kind of person.
Yeah. It's like an energy bank, right?
Yes.
Or a positivity bank with ourselves.
Right.
We should do jelly beans on our desk like kindergarten of just like, yep, killing it today.
That's right. I am this, right?
Yeah.
So, by the way, one of the things that I find that people are, especially high achieving entrepreneurs, truly are their worst critics. And it can be, I think it can be very hard living with yourself when you are that way. And so I wrote the book in large part, because I understand what that is. I understand what that's like. And I have learned how to get better at that. And I have lots of compassion for people who are still in that place, because it's a very hard way to live.
Yeah.
And when you start to give yourself a lot more grace and you recognize it's about the progress, not trying to be perfect, and practice makes progress. That's what we want. Practice makes progress. Then you can get into a place where you start to love yourself because of the progress, however small it is. But I find that because of that inner critique that's just going all the time, there's a little phrase that is out there that's popular that I want to just take a second with you to kill.
Okay.
And I think you'll be able to relate to this, and I think people will relate to this. But people will say, and they'll think that what I'm describing and what you and I have just talked about is fake it till you make it. That's not what this is.
No.
So I'm going to give you a different phrase. It is be it till they see it. They will eventually see what you are being and you are becoming. And what I found is when we say fake it till we make it, we've actually already done the wiring wrong in the first place.
Right.
We're faking
We're
it.
not faking
really
it.
that.
I can't do that, really.
Right,
I am an imposter.
Right. We're feeding the critic that's saying you're an imposter, right?
Yeah.
So, but on the other hand, when we be it till they see it, we're just stacking enough of the actions that look like that's what the identity is, to where not only when I say they, guess who the most important they is?
That mirror.
That's right. It's
Who's
that
looking
inner
back
critic,
at you?
right?
Yeah.
Till they see it, till others see it. Whoever matters that you're trying to, hey, it'll be great when they see it. Whatever those games are. I hope people will get out of the fake it till they make it mode and get into the be it till they see it mode, and recognize that it's okay. Because I think when you take that approach, then you don't have to worry when you aren't being that. It's okay. Give yourself a little grace and then just work on being that some more.
Yeah, I love that. I love masterminds, and they completely changed my life. And I like putting smart people together in a room. And you talk about that in your book as well, of surrounding yourself with people who care. And it's okay when you have a bad day, because we do, right? Yep. Life is a journey, and we're going to be on it. And we've talked about this before, of if we accomplish our to-do list, there will be a whole new list right behind there of all of the things. And with a supportive group around you, when you have those bad days and challenges and struggles, it is so important to have, when your inner critic is raising their voice and screaming, and having that grounding connection of somebody to just say, like, no, that might be how you feel right now, and that's okay. Yeah. But this is the reality, and this is what I see from the outside. And having a support system is incredibly important. It's what I love about Keap Nation, and our community is incredibly supportive and resourceful and helpful, and one of the things that I love most.
Me too. And you've been such a huge part of that over the years, and you do great. I mean, Sarah's a mastermind leader extraordinaire. She won't say that, but she is. She's great at leading masterminds, and that skill of that power to bring people together, and people learning from each other and sharing their perspectives. You do a great job of that, and you add so much to the Keap Nation because of that. We talked a little bit about the habit stacking. Is there anything that's worked for you as you've found ways to try to build up those habits? Because we're all working on doing that better.
Yeah, I tell you that I try and hack myself because
Yeah.
I know how to wiggle out of a lot of my own responsibilities.
Right.
And as entrepreneurs, who's going to know if I don't do all the things that I need to do?
Right.
I can say I had a great day today and then realize that nothing actually got it done or accomplished. Something that I shared at the event in Nashville was when I get overwhelmed in a place of overwhelm, and I take that to-do list and I just put one thing at a time and mind dump and get rid of everything and put it on individual index cards and then order them. And I can just sit there and do just the one thing that is going to move me forward towards my goal. So instead of looking at an entire list of overwhelming, chaotic, stressful, it's like if I just do this one thing, and that's all I can do. But then you get in, it's like putting on your exercise shoes, right? I'm going to go for a run and it's like, ugh. But once you put your shoes on and you're dressed and your water's ready, then you go for it.
Yeah.
And you hack yourself a little bit.
Yeah.
And what are the little things that I want to do and change so that I can just take a micro of just looking at my goals on a yearly basis every week instead of quarterly or whatever to make sure that I'm doing those intentionally, that I'm making progress forward. Or, I think the more we know ourselves, the more, and we're open and honest with ourselves, we can figure out how to trick ourselves into doing the things that we don't necessarily want to do or love to do.
That sneaky little ego.
Need to be done to move forward.
Yes, you're so right. And, that's why I talk a lot in the book about the sneaky little ego, because if we're not careful and we don't have checks against that, then we think we're doing all this stuff, but it's actually the ego that's steering it, and we're playing into that. So
yeah, I don't want to say I felt attacked with the ego section, but I was like, no, I check my ego at the door, and it's like, no, you don't all the time. You definitely don't.
Well, there's a reason why it's on my doormat as you walk into my office. There's a reason why it hangs around, because I think a lot of people think, check your ego means that only applies to people that just have these overarching gargantuan egos. Oh, no. It's for everybody to understand there's a counter force to what we're trying to do all the time inside of us. And if we're not careful, that thing wins.
Absolutely. I'm like, no, I'm way too self-conscious just to have an ego. Like, that's definitely not a thing. It's like, no, you do. You got to know your own weaknesses and be able to move forward. I think a lot of times with entrepreneurs, we have all this stuff going on, and we live in I like organized chaos, right? Like life is chaotic.
Yes.
It just is. So how can we do it in a way that we can move forward and live the life that we want?
Yes. Love it. I love it. Okay, we're going to keep this going, but first, a quick message for you. Conquer the Chaos listeners, let me talk to you straight for just a minute. You're running your business, and it dominates your mind. It can be very difficult to take a step back and see what's needed to create balance in your business and your personal life, and to create great growth and development and progress in your business and personal life. One of the most powerful ways to gain the perspective that you need is to get away from things and immerse yourself in an environment where you're going to be inspired, where you can see possibilities, where you can create connections, and where you can learn and grow and develop. And I know of no better place for entrepreneurs than Keap's Let's Grow Summit. For years, we ran this conference as just an amazing mecca for entrepreneurship. And then, truth be told, for a few years, we didn't run it. We got back to it last year, and this year, we're putting it on, and it is going to be awesome. I am so excited about this, and I want you as our listeners to not miss out on this event. It's going to be November 20th through the 22nd, downtown Phoenix, with the main days being the 21st and the 22nd. You can register for it by going to keap.com/letsgrowsummit. That's keap.com/letsgrowsummit. And you can take advantage of our early bird registration pricing, which expires the end of July. So if you are needing a reflection time, an opportunity to take a step back, gain greater perspective, inspiration, and most of all, see what automation, the fifth key to success, can do for your business, then make sure that you attend the Let's Grow Summit. Keap.com/Let's Grow Summit, November 20th through 22nd in Phoenix. I look forward to seeing you there. All right, now back to our chat. I love what you're doing around, finding ways to do the one thing, starting to build on that. And it was really interesting for me because for years I had a good morning routine with exercise. If I kind of think about habits and routines where you get kind of the one thing that's really working well, and then you just start to build around it and expand it. That one thing starts to take on new dimensions to it. You add new things to it. And once you get things on autopilot, it enables you to build out, but it also requires you occasionally to go in and look at it and say, well, is it on autopilot in a way that's not so great? How could I improve that a little bit? And what was interesting for me is that if you would have asked me before COVID, do you have a good morning routine? I would have said absolutely. But I didn't yet have morning mastery. And as you know in the book, it's about mastery for me. It's about really, really making it. I almost called it magic because it is so incredible and it wasn't until COVID that I really got it going. And so what happened was our gym shut down, and so I needed to do something different. So I created a little gym in my basement, and then I started to realize, oh, well, you know what? I'm just going to do kind of my spiritual practices that I always do after. I'm just going to stay down in this room and do it down here. And then pretty soon that room started to turn into this sanctuary of just amazing, all these things I started adding. I'm like you, I've got 50 journals that have 4 pages written, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And then I started, while I was in the morning, I started doing the 5-minute gratitude journal. And that opened up a whole new thing for me. And then I was like, I got way more to write. So I started doing the gratitude journal and another journal. And I started writing and started realizing the power of calming the mind through writing, which is just amazing when you start doing that. But if you would have told me before COVID, hey, just journal every day, I'd be like, yeah, sure, whatever.
Of course, I write. Yeah, that's the thing I do.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's just so interesting how it starts to evolve when you take that approach of just evolving the morning. So you can get it started with something and then turning it into mastery and something that you just love. Which now, I love my morning. And part of this is, everybody's morning's going to look a little different.
For
Seasons
sure.
of life, all kinds of different things, which is also why it's important to have a long version, a medium version, a short version, and a very short version so that you can
You're traveling,
adapt.
You're doing whatever.
Exactly.
My husband's still asleep and I don't want to wake him up, or the dog or the kids or the whatever's happening. And it can be challenging. And those are, I think I talked to you a lot about that because I do travel a lot. And it was like, how can I craft this in a way that I feel like I can be consistent with it? And consistency is the key, right? That's the real, it's the diet and exercise of how do you lose weight. It's you got to do it every day, not just one time, once a month, and figure you're going to get results. I absolutely love that. And was one of my biggest takeaways from the book is just what are my 3 non-negotiables of my morning routine that I have to do. And with the journaling, the gratitude, I love the 5-minute journal.
They're so great, aren't they?
Because it's prompted. I don't have to think. I just write down what it is. The first one I ever did was years ago, and I challenged myself not to write the same thing I was grateful for at least a month. That I had to think of different things.
That's awesome. Yeah.
Well, it's challenging, let me tell you. It was not as easy as I thought when I set out on that mission.
I don't know if I would have finished that one.
It was tricky, but it's not dated, so I just pick it back up when I fall off the wagon. But meditating was always a challenge for me and a struggle. And it's how can I calm my mind? Because even going for a massage, I'm just sitting there and I'm just processing all of the things. So I just bought, Calm app, and I did guided meditations. And I didn't win at all of them. I did not. I did. If I would have been graded on them, I would not have aced it at all. But just doing it and going and sitting with it, and then you get better. Nobody goes out and just knocks it out of the park every time. Practice makes progress.
Yes.
Now I like to think that I'm perfect.
Well, you probably are really good at meditation. I'm like you. I was the same way. If someone would have told me 10 years ago, hey, you're going to be a really consistent, prolific journaler, I would have been like, what happened? Like that. I've tried so many times. You don't know me. If they would have said, you're going to really enjoy meditating, I'd be like, really? I don't
I could sit there for X amount of minutes. I could not think of anything, just empty my mind.
Even Steve Hardison, my coach, he used to say, hey, you need, try this, try to work on meditation. And I would try to listen to my breathing for a minute. I got to 10 seconds every time, I just couldn't do it. And then I found different ways to do guided meditation and music. Music's so powerful to just calm. And now, I love it. And I have different forms and different ways that I do it. But
Yeah.
it's really amazing how, and this, part of why I love my morning is because I have variations. So I have different things. Like it's like playtime. There's some really fun things you get to do. So,
Yeah.
so I love it. And I think that's actually, that's the key that when people get to a place where their morning is really mastery, it's magic. It's because they love it. And
Yeah.
it's no longer a chore. It's not a thing they have to do anymore. It's like, how can I get more of that? Because I love that. So anyway, I love that you're doing that. Let's shift for just a little bit about time. What are some of the things that you see that entrepreneurs maybe get stuck on a little bit in the way that they're viewing time, or the way that because let's face it, the audience, entrepreneurs who are busy doing lots of things, and pretty quickly you realize in entrepreneurship that money's not the most important thing, that time is the thing that's the most scarce.
Yeah.
Sometimes it takes 2-3 years to get to that point, but you get to that point and you start to realize, oh, yeah, time. So what are some of the things that you see maybe people get tripped up on, or some of the things that you've discovered in some of the, ways to get time back on your side?
Yeah. Time has I've been a little bit unique just with life experiences. When I was 21, I was widowed, and you think you have your whole life ahead of you, and then suddenly it changes.
Yeah.
So when I found Infusionsoft and Keap, it was like, oh, this is how people can make magic and save time.
Yeah.
Automation is the way. You can still do the things that you want to do and deliver the experience that you want for your customers. You want it to be personal, and you want them to feel all that. But you can do it in a way that isn't slimy and sleazy, or takes a million times, or I've never wanted to grow a big team. I like to take care of, just me and my family.
Yeah.
And I don't want those responsibilities. So I've been really intentional with what I do and what I build. And one of my first clients that I ever worked with Infusionsoft back in 2011 was a mom who would do consultations with people. And then afterwards, it would take her 2 hours to write up her notes on everything that they discussed and send them information that they could work with. And we just created a form, and her 2-hour process went down to 15 minutes. And it was like, we just magicked up an hour and 45 minutes of every client that she gets to spend with her boys.
Yeah.
And she can still help her clients in a way that's impactful, but gets to live her life on her terms.
Yeah.
And I think when we use tools that are out there, entrepreneurs, like we talked about in the squirrel syndrome, there's a million things that we can do.
Right.
Keeping it simple is so. What is what is the first step that we have to do?
Yep.
I talk about there's a 3-step process, and step 1 is do the thing. Step 3, profit. And step 2, what is that? Nobody knows. And it's like, that's the hard work. Step 2 is the hard work.
Right.
And you have to get to that to get to step 3. But being able to utilize any tool that we can, and now with AI, is absolutely a game changer. We don't have to start with blank pages anymore.
Right.
And it's helping businesses in incredible ways that 10 years ago I wouldn't have even imagined as possible.
Yep.
And with tools like Keap and AI, and anybody's dreams can absolutely come true.
I love that. Obviously, using automation to get time back in your life is what we're all about at Keap. And you're right, with AI, it's so incredible. In fact, you might remember Richard Tripp, our former chief product officer. I got a text from him about 2 weeks ago, and he said, "Hey, remember years ago when we were envisioning the future and you said you think that our software will write people's emails for them?" And I said, "Oh, that's right. I remember us talking about that." He's like, "I think you can do that now." I said, "Dude, we're doing it. It's in the product now. You can actually do it right now."
The future is here. Yeah.
So it's so fun. Just the time that you can get back through automation, through AI. And it's funny. Dan Martell of SaaS Academy wrote the book "Buy Back Your Time." I'm actually speaking to the SaaS Academy next week, and I'm speaking on how to buy back your time with automation. And it really is like, a lot of people think it's kind of mystical, or it's like, no. The example you gave, so many little things that we do all day, every day, that you can automate, that gets time back in your life, that enables you to conquer the chaos through automation. That you do it extraordinarily well with your clients. You've experienced that. But I think it's because you come from a mindset of how can I make the most money with the least amount, right? Like that's what you said from the beginning. And if you don't come from that mindset, if instead you come from the mindset of I have an amount of time I work, then you've time's not on your side.
Well, we
You're
can
actually
fill it
working
up.
for time.
Parkinson's law will fill up that time with all kinds of ridiculous things.
But only always, as my coach says.
Yeah. But I still have to do time inventories of myself. What am I busy actually doing?
Right,
and my good friend Melody Moore challenged me to just open a Google sheet and just write down literally all the things that I do, not the things that I think that I do all day long, of just step by step every 5 minutes.
Yeah. What
are you doing during your day?
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, it can be painful when you look at it. And it's like you talk about the delegate, the 3 Ds.
The 5 Ds.
5 Ds.
Yep.
I apparently only like 3 of them. That's all I can commit to, the 3. But
so dump it out. Yeah. Delete first so that you don't do, because there's a bunch of things you shouldn't do.
For sure.
So dump it out of your brain. Delete. So that's number 2. Delegate. So it needs to get done by somebody else.
Yeah.
Oh, no, you need to do it. Can you defer it, do it later, or do you need to do it now? So those are the Ds.
So when you do you do a time inventory of what you're actually spending your time on, it's real reflective on how you waste your time.
Yeah.
How I waste my time.
So true. So true. And we all need someone to help us be accountable to that, because it's easy for us to think, oh gosh, I'm just so busy, and then when you slow it down and you take note, you're like, ooh, yeah, there's some areas where I could optimize here a little better.
I clearly spend way too much time. I was writing down goals and a prompted goal setting session. And one of the things was, what were you willing to give up to achieve this goal?
Love it.
And I was like, oh, that's harsh.
Yeah.
What am I willing to give up?
That's right.
And my kids would tell you that I'm very old. And it was, because I don't do TikTok. I would watch Facebook Reels, and they're like, those are the TikToks of 8 months ago, Mom.
8 months, right.
And I was like, I'll stop watching Reels. And then I was like, how can I action that? Because it's one thing to say it.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, I could just move the little icon on my phone, and then I won't have muscle memory of just going to it. And I was like, no, we're just going to delete it. And I just deleted it. And it was like, I'm willing to commit to 30 days of not watching Facebook Reels to help my goals and dreams come true.
Good for you. It's awesome.
Tricking myself. Just how can I hack myself to do the things that I want?
I love it. Those are the kinds of things that put time back on your side and back in your day. It's hacks, it's automation, it's a mindset, it's adjusting things, and really having that accountability where you stop and look at it, and when you lay it all out, you can't run from that. It's like, okay, that's it.
It's there. Yeah.
And I think this is where that sneaky ego wins sometimes, because it's telling us, oh, I'm so busy, there's no time. It's like, no, slow down.
Those are excuses.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. You can actually change the way things are going, but the ego fights for the status quo. The ego fights to keep things the same and not make adjustments. And so I just want to honor who you are, in not only as an entrepreneur and really a thought leader on automation for small business, but also and marketing. I mean, we haven't even touched on your marketing expertise, but also in just personal development, getting better and better. I say all the time to my team, one of the things I love about entrepreneurship and small business is who it pushes us to become. The lab for life that is entrepreneurship is just amazing. And, I think that you have to have a certain appetite and willingness to do that.
For sure.
To really enjoy entrepreneurship, and some people, I think, don't have that appetite. But I honor you because I see that appetite in you, just that desire to get better and better. And thanks for sharing a little bit, and a little bit of your story and how you came to be an entrepreneur and such a successful one. Is there anything else that you wanted to touch on? I'll give you a chance to share, if people want to get to know you better and learn more from your expertise. But anything else you wanted to touch on in the 6 keys before we wrap up the discussion around Conquer the Chaos?
I mean, if you haven't read it, you have to. Even if you think you've heard it all from Clate before, and how could you possibly get anything out of this? But you're going to see him next month, so you better read it, or else you're going to be real embarrassed when you talk to him. Definitely read it. And I'm probably going to read it quarterly. And by read, I'm definitely Audible.
Right.
And I shared with you how what speed I was listening to you on. And when we slowed it down at the end of it, my daughter was like, that did not sound like Clate at all.
Sounds weird.
Yeah, he's like, who was that? Wait, what? Just having the reminder. And one of the things in the book is that books are the cheapest form of education.
Yes.
And what are you doing? What are you putting into your mind to make your dreams come true? Is it reels based on Facebook's old TikTok algorithm,
right?
Or are you doing the work to set out what you're ready to achieve?
I love that. I love it. Well, thanks for sharing that. Thank you for, it really it was meaningful to me when you shared the impact that it's had on you when we saw each other in Nashville, and I've loved hearing that. I've loved hearing that feedback, and I really do. I mean, I poured my experience, but also my heart and soul into that book. I really did. I'm glad you feel that because it means so much to me, because I know what the cost of entrepreneurship can be.
Yeah.
And I know what the dark side is. We know, we've seen it. And when you flirt with that dark side personally, or when loved ones or people you care so much about, and you see sometimes giving into the dark side of entrepreneurship, it's sad. It doesn't have to be that way. So this has been awesome. For people who are like, okay, Sarah clearly has a beat on entrepreneurship that I need a little bit more understanding of, how can they learn more about you?
Not TikTok. I am on Facebook. I'm on LinkedIn. Sarah Laws, Laws. It's easy to read, but challenging sometimes to spell and get across.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm out there.
Okay, awesome.
Reach out.
Sarah Laws, thank you so much for being with us and sharing your wisdom with the Conquer the Chaos audience and Keap Nation more broadly. We appreciate everything that you do to serve entrepreneurs. And thanks all for being here. I know that this was valuable. I hope that you'll listen to what Sarah's shared here. And like she says, if you haven't read the book, read the dang book. It's really good. So until next time, make sure you like, follow, share, all those things that they tell me I need to make sure I say. And we'll see you next time on the Conquer the Chaos episode, next episode of the Conquer the Chaos podcast. Thanks so much for listening. Subscribe right here on YouTube or in your favorite podcast app to make sure that you don't miss a single episode of the Conquer the Chaos podcast. And hey, if you like this episode, let's get this out to more entrepreneurs. We all know that it is not easy to grow a great business and a great life. And so let's get this message out to others. Make sure that you hit the like button, that you comment, and that you share it with others so that we can help other entrepreneurs build a great business and a great life as they conquer the chaos. Keep going, keep serving, and keep growing.